702.
The Open Line.
So it's the Open Line, and I don't know if you saw the developments in that story of that deputy mayor from the Western Cape that is in Bitou. Her name is Nokuzola Kolwapi. There were videos circulating on social media of her discharging a firearm in the air. It seems it was a celebration in the Western Cape, celebration for her son. I believe it was Umgidi, and she was then, shooting in the air. And I mean, it was just, it's horrible, right? And we've all been wondering, why would anyone act that way? Well, she came out with a statement yesterday clarifying, number one, saying that it wasn't a real firearm. It was a toy gun. And I think we've heard that before. But also, she said that this is clearly just the ANC in that area wanting to score points against her rival political party and her as the mayor in that area, or the deputy mayor in that area. But I don't know about you. It seems as though at this time of the year, when people want to have a good time, for some reason, we just go overboard, doing the things that we would ordinarily frown upon, the things that we wouldn't find to be normal. People just do them. I mean, under any other circumstance, in fact, where I'm from, the only time I've seen people shooting in the air, it's when it's a gangster's funeral, someone has died and they lived by crime, they lived by the gun, and the gangsters, they shoot the whole week, sometimes the whole night. Sometimes I've heard of gangsters wanting to shoot the coffin, but never in a celebration of a boy moving from, transitioning from boyhood to manhood, have I ever seen people celebrating in that way. And I've been wondering, what is it about the festivities and the festive times that make people want to celebrate in such ways, I've also been seeing the spilling of alcohol. It's also a popular thing, where people will and it's expensive alcohol. They go out of their way to buy the most expensive bottle. And that's the bottle that they want to use. Now, where I'm from, and I think where many of us are from, that would be considered wasteful, right? But for some reason, when we are having a good time and we're celebrating, people just want to do these things, and act what I would imagine is out of character. I hope it's out of character. I hope she doesn't walk around shooting in the air every other day, But yes, I suppose that's a story that, for me, drew my attention. And what happens now? I mean, I think there's going to be an investigation into whether that firearm is a real gun. And then, we'll take it from there. But from her statement, it really did seem like there wasn't a lot of remorse. I mean, of course, she's come out to say that, she didn't do anything wrong, and she's clarified that it was a celebration for her son and it was a toy gun. And then she reduces it to being a political battle, right? Scoring political points by her rivals. But I do think it's worth having the bigger conversation, because quite frankly, it's unacceptable. There are safety concerns, and I want to see that toy gun, because that gun looked very real to me. I don't know if you saw that video. That firearm looked very real to me. It looked like a real gun. It looked like a gun that you see gangsters using in videos that are making the rounds. I don't know what a toy gun looks like a real toy gun. I don't know if that's even a thing. Help me. Listen, if you saw that video, are you convinced that she was using a toy gun? And are you at all concerned that she was performing and acting this way, even though she was so excited? Sammy, you're in Centurion, and you want to weigh in on this conversation. Good morning.
Good morning. The issue of that deputy mayor, right? The defense of a toy gun doesn't hold. The Firearm Control Act says that if you shoot a gun in the air, that's a criminal offense. That's a defense that was used by Julius Malema.
Yes.
When he was found guilty. Right? So she doesn't have a defense. What just needs to happen is just for the police to arrest her. There's no investigation that should be done. The video is there. It's giving her away. And then she claimed that it's African culture to shoot guns in the air.
At that point, that's, for me, Sammy, I mean, that's just not true, right? It's not true. When we're happy, we don't do dangerous things just because we are excited.
Besides that, historically, Africans never had guns. Guns came with colonialism. So this whole thing that it's African culture, it just doesn't hold. If she wanted to practice African culture, she would have been deviating instead of shooting a gun. So they just need to arrest her. The law needs to take its course. there's just nothing to defend there. I don't know how a lawyer is going to defend her in court, but I think she just needs to plead guilty and maybe qualify for a lesser sentence, because this whole thing of ANC people, and I'm stressing it's ANC people because we've seen them funerals. They shoot guns in the air, and old woman was shot.
Yeah, but except she's not an ANC member, and it's important to say that she's from the Ikwezi political movement, and this is clearly, a party in that area that won against the ANC in the Bitou area. She's a deputy mayor of Bitou, and she says the ANC is using this to score political points. That's why they're calling for her resignation, and that's why they're calling for her to be investigated.
No, she said, no, you're supposed to have a law. Shooting a gun in the air is a criminal offense, regardless of which country in the world you are. It's a criminal offense, even in Afghanistan. So you must just arrest her. By this moment, she should have been fired already. So now, I don't know, maybe some lawyer will call, but I don't know what a defense is going to be. But I think she just must be arrested when she goes to court to save herself the humiliation. She must just plead guilty and qualify for a lesser sentence. But that's how I see things.
Samin Centurion, thank you so much for your call. Yes, if you are a lawyer listening, please give us a call. How does this work? Particularly, I think the legislation is the Firearms Control Act. And does that extend to toy guns? And would a toy gun be treated as a real gun? And is there a prosecution that follows? Have people been prosecuted for discharging toy guns? I mean, as I said, that this gun looked very real to me. I'm not sure, whether, I haven't really seen a toy gun that looks like a real gun that people use. I don't know. It sounded real. It looked real. The bullets, flying all over. That just looked so real to me. But here's her statement. In her statement, she says, in response to the video circulating on social media, I'd like to clarify that there was no firearm present. The item witnessed in my hand is a replica. So she says replica, and then in brackets she says a toy gun. It was taken during my son's ulwaluko, a sacred Xhosa initiation ceremony that marks the transition into manhood. It's unfortunate that this moment has been used to score political points by the ANC and bogus so-called local community leaders. Number one, for me, I'm not sure that, you say sacred. What was happening there did not look sacred. But I do think that it's worth extending the conversation to how we celebrate at this time of the year. Because surely, even the people that are not firing toy guns, this practice that people go to whenever they say they're having a good time, they say they're celebrating, which is beautiful. We must celebrate. We must celebrate according to our cultures also. But at what point is it just too much? Where do we draw the line? Is it at the point where we're spilling alcohol that could feed families just because we have the money? Just because we can. We've got access to this, so let's buy alcohol, that's worth so much because we are happy? And these are things that we would generally frown upon. This is behavior that would not be considered acceptable anywhere else. Spiwe, you're in the Val. Good morning. Spiwe, hi. Okay, we seem to be having a problem with Spiwe's line there. We're going to try get him, but I also do see some voice notes. Let's read a comment or two. Someone here saying, good morning, Kgomotso. I base all this misbehavior on a democracy that has gone wrong. The democracy itself was and still is a good idea on paper and anywhere else. However, in South Africa, it seems to be translated into lawlessness. Give us a call. I'm not sure what you mean by that, because I do think that the lawlessness issue is separate. And I do think that while democracy, there are issues in all types of government, I think. And I think that there must be, you're right, lawlessness is at the heart of the problem. It's a lawlessness issue. I'm not sure it's a democracy issue, but I'd like to hear more from you on what you base that thought on. Let's take a voice note.
Good morning, Kgomotso. Good morning, 702 Land. Vincent here. The gun issue in this country, really, it has actually begun to be a problem. And to control it, it's going to be so difficult. for this Mickey Mouse government. I don't want to lie. So everyone is shooting in the air. You should see when the ANC comrades or any political party, EFF and so on, when they are burying their friend, they shoot in the air. They shoot in the air, especially in the Kasi. In the Kasi, they shoot in the air up until their friend is buried. And at the funeral, that happens as well. That's so immoral. And according to the gun laws, as far as I know, you are not allowed to be shooting in the air. And your gun, if it's a licensed gun, it always has to be what you call concealed. But now, even a woman like this is really embarrassing. You cannot claim Africanism when you are behaving like this. The chances are she was intoxicated as well. We are living in a Mickey Mouse country. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there's this tendency of when people want to be lawless and want to act in ways that are not acceptable, then they say, no, it's African. That's such, it's an insult, to Africans, It's such an insult. There's absolutely no reason why you should be acting that way. And then your defense is the fact that I'm African and I'm celebrating my culture. Show me where your culture says that you must discharge firearms. Show me where. I haven't seen it anywhere else. I've got friends here who've been to, Imikiti and the likes, and they too say that the way that people are acting now is unacceptable. And it's this modern day. I don't know whether it's the excitement. I don't know whether it's the access that people have. I don't know if it's a money thing. But all of a sudden, people think that it's okay to act in this way. Where I'm from, guns were exclusively for gangsters. Okay, and the police. Maybe the police. But, gangsters, if you had a gun, you knew that it could only be a gangster, someone terrorizing the community, someone wanting to show their power, to show that they have muscle, that you shouldn't mess with them. It was never going to be associated with a mother who's celebrating their son. So the fact that she even thought it was okay, even if it is a toy gun, let's say it is a toy gun, what it looks like, what it represents, what does it tell? What story does it tell? It's just, it's irresponsible to say the least. And I do think that she should be questioned a lot more. I don't think that she should be let off the hook. From that statement that I just read, for me, it does sound like she's watering it down. She's downplaying it and saying, listen, it's not that serious. You guys must calm down. Or as people would say, it's not that deep. But it really, really is. In a country like ours, where the levels of violence, the murder rates are out the roof, it is important. When young men, when boys watch a woman that age, someone who should be a mother, someone who should be a voice of reason in the community doing that, I do think it's unacceptable. Let's take more voice notes.
Good morning, Kgomotso. It's Modise here. Yeah, look, first things first, the deputy mayor should have not done what she's done, even if it was a blank or inverted commas toy gun. Even a blank gun actually sounds and feels like a real one. It also spits the cartridges when you shoot it. And I think, I may be corrected here, the Firearms Control Act also applies to such guns. What she did is wrong. I think the law must take its course. Modise here. Bye.
Hi, morning, Kgomotso. Kgomotso, that caller that says, it's a democracy that they are blaming for what that deputy mayor has done. That caller is justified. The caller is right. This democracy in South Africa, it's not actually merely about rights. It's about a one-time, allowance for people to do as they wish. And we can't just call that democracy. As soon as that woman gets caught and taken to court, if that was a real gun, you'll hear now, her rights are going to overcome. Everything will be a digression now. Her rights now will be the forefront, and her offense will be a secondary issue. That's the problem we're having in South Africa. All over. this democracy, when it comes to us, especially Africans in particular, we are being misused. It's being misused. It's being misplaced. Everything that goes wrong is always shielded by the word democracy. Rob.
Thank you for your voice notes. We're taking more of them. Also, give us a call on 011-883-0702. I hear your arguments and I hear exactly what you're saying. And I think at the heart of what you're saying, Rob, and the previous gentleman who had sent us a voice note is the fact that it's being misused. It's being misused. And it's the same way that culture, people use the term culture and say, it's my culture, it's my, that's how we celebrate. That's being misused. Is it a problem with the actual democracy? I wonder. I think we ought to have that conversation, and it's a separate conversation to have. But I do think, like all good things, democracy can be misused, and it can be exploited by those who know how to exploit the system. Thank you so much for your voice notes. We are speaking about that mayor in Bitou, deputy mayor in Bitou in the Western Cape, firing or discharging that firearm in the air. She says that it was a toy gun. She says it's not a real gun, it's a fake gun, and so this is just being used to score political points by the ANC. Her party is the Ikwezi political movement, and that's she's the leader of that party. The story just keeps getting worse. When I saw the video initially, I thought, why is this mother, why is this elderly woman, someone who clearly should be a voice of reason in the community, someone who should be someone who is respected and respectable in the community, acting in this way? And that's where I left it. And then I learned that she's a deputy mayor, and I thought, what? Where are we? I mean, her responsibility is now tenfold because she's a political leader. And then I learned that she's a leader of this political party. So the people in this political party are okay with being led by a person like this? Also, when you read the statement, there's no accountability. There's no accountability from her. She doesn't say at any point, when I reflect in hindsight, I should have acted differently. I've read it. And she says, there is no contradiction between celebrating culture and condemning violence. The incident was not a threat. It was a declaration. A declaration of what? She says this was a symbol of taking back our culture. What culture? Taking back our identity and taking back our power. I don't understand what she means here. And then she ends it off by saying, I remain committed as a leader and as a mother to building a South Africa where our traditions evolve without losing their soul. Can someone who understands this please get in touch with me? Tell me where the link between traditions and guns come. Show me the link between guns and tradition. Because where I'm from, in my culture, and I'm a Sotho-speaking Motswana, I can tell you now that I don't know where guns would fit in my culture. But it just seems so convenient that it's being used in this way. It's being weaponized in this way. Let's take another voice note.
Morning, Kgomotso. It's Tom here. I'm listening from Ireland. Listen, this mayor, she's full of herself. This deputy mayor, she's full of herself. Only thing that police can do, she can be taken in and then have her hands checked for the gun residue. If she fires a shot, there's that powder that will remain in your hands. If it was a live gun, simple and straightforward. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that voice note. I appreciate it. Yes, I know about the gun residue, but I think it goes away after some time. In fact, this is why it's so important to move swiftly when it comes to investigations. One of the things that are holding up or that were questioned in the Senzo Meyiwa trial was whether any of the people in the house were tested for gun residue. And I remember that, it goes away after some time. But I'm sure that there are other ways that this can be investigated. The cartridges, if it releases cartridges, the bullet itself, because it seemed that there were bullets or rounds of some sort being released. Those need to be tested. I think it's very easy to confirm whether or not this was a real gun. We've heard this defense from Julius Malema. We've heard this defense before that this is a fake gun. And I don't think that she'll be let off the hook that easily, especially now that it sparked such outrage and conversation. But I mean, for me, it's the lack of accountability, the lack of reflecting to say, you know what? In the moment, I didn't realize that what I was doing, I was taken up by excitement. I was so happy that I just grabbed what I saw and I did that. But now I see where I may have gone wrong. That for me would have given me it would have prompted so much respect from me, and I think from many South Africans, of someone who sees they are wrong, who sees that I could have acted better, and who sees how this could have been interpreted in the way that it has been. But the fact that you're just going to reduce it and dismiss it as a political battle and a rival political party just wanting to score points, that for me is problematic.
702. The Open Line.
Welcome back. This is the Clement Manyathela Show. It's 9:35 right here on 702. My name is Kgomotso Modise. I'm in for Clem this festive season. Thank you so much for tuning in. Aren't you proud today to be a South African? I am very, very proud after yesterday's match against Angola. As Bafana Bafana winning 2-1 against Angola yesterday. Osman Apollos and Lyle Foster scoring the goals for Bafana. And you know what? I'm just getting a little more hopeful. My colleagues this morning were asking me, so I'm wearing my Boca shirt, right? Because that's the only shirt I have. That's the only one I own, okay, for now. And so my colleagues were asking, why don't you buy a Bafana one? And I said, you know what, I just need them to win one more game. And I'm going to buy myself a Bafana shirt. But I think that we need to speak about the restoration or the restored hope that South Africans have in Bafana. Because the fact that we're even watching now is absolutely amazing. And I've been listening to people saying, you know, in the last Afcon, Bafana were the underdogs. Now we're clearly the team to look out for. And it just feels so good. Oh, how I hope one day my lovely Amakosi will be back there as well. But I think it's a good day to be South African. Of course, we are following the Africa Cup of Nations, and the next fixture is against Egypt on Friday at 5 p.m. And then on Monday, it is against Zimbabwe. A bit of anxiety. We're a little anxious when it comes to Egypt for Friday. But you know what? I believe in our boys. And I think that we're at a good place right now. Also, the Bafana magic, and I should call it the energy that we have as a country when it comes to Bafana, is rubbing off on them. I think they too are they're showing up differently. You know, they're making things matter. They can see they're moving in with a lot more confidence. And for me, it's so beautiful to see. The country is excited. This country has always wanted, to a football team like Bafana to be restored to its glory, and that's where we are. I think we're almost back at our glory, and it's beautiful to see. Are you wearing your Bafana shirt today? Do you even own a Bafana shirt? Do you own a Bafana shirt? Umtewa Khwaripe from The Breakfast Show was speaking about how when you buy the shirt, you must buy the real one. Uskaraka Fong Kong. And I agree. Don't buy Fong Kong. You must buy the real one, please. We respect our team, our national team, and we do not support counterfeit goods. So are you wearing your Bafana shirt, your real original Bafana shirt today? Or like me, did you pull out any, national team shirt just because, you don't want FOMO, you don't want to be left out? It's green and yellow, man. And, I think it does the job. I think it does. Get in touch with us. This is the 702 open line, 011-883-0702.
Kgomotso, good morning, Israeli. Regarding the Bafana games, that was a lucky game yesterday, I must say. But I'm looking forward to the next games now. You still have to play Egypt on Friday and probably next week. Zimbabwe, but watching both games. That of us and Angola and the Egypt and the Zimbabweans. I think I'm more scared of the Zimbabweans than I am for Egypt. So I'm very confident that this Friday Egypt, they're gonna see the dust. We're gonna come out victorious in that game. We're gonna beat them 2-1. But the Zimbabweans, the way they play, they run at those guys. I'm actually more scared of the Zimbabweans than I am with the Egyptians. But yeah, that was a great game that we had yesterday, and then I think we just gonna continue where we left off with the Egypt as well coming this Friday. Thanks, Kgomotso Modise. Great show as always. Have a lucky one. Cheers, bye.
Thank you so much. You're scared of Zimbabwe? I don't know. So I'm not very knowledgeable when it comes to soccer. But I thought that Zimbabwe isn't the team to fear. Didn't they lose yesterday against Egypt? I think they lost 2-1 in the last minute. They lost 2-1. I thought that we should be more worried about Egypt. The people that are more knowledgeable when it comes to soccer, please let us know. Because I've been trying to get on this now, especially because my husband is a big soccer person, but he's not very good at explaining it to me. He doesn't have the patience with me. So I'm trying to learn through social media and other ways. I'm on TikTok, even following soccer content. I'm trying to get my head around it. And I thought that the people that we have to fear is Egypt more than Zimbabwe. So please get in touch. Let me know if it's something worth fearing. And let me prepare myself emotionally. You see, the thing about soccer is that now I get invested and then my heart breaks. I really hope it doesn't come to that.
Good morning, Kgomotso. I'm Sweden. No, let Amakos not be back up there. Because when they are on top of their game, they are too loud. For now, it's quiet nicely with them struggling. Thank you, I'm Sweden.
We are coming back soon and very soon. We'll be at the top, you know. I know people say Amakosi have big mouths, but why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you if you were so exceptional, if you were such a big team? I mean, have you seen the Kosi Fire? When we win, man, the country is a better place. People are happy. People are having a good time. Of course, we would want Amakosi back there at the top. But yeah, it's beautiful to see how the country has been replying to, or responding, I should say, to Bafana Bafana. People are back watching the soccer, which is absolutely amazing. And I think that we need to keep this momentum.
702. Call us on 011 883 0702.
All right, this is the Clement Manyathela show. It's 9:41. This is the open line. Let's take some of your voice notes.
Good morning, Kgomotso Modise. Good morning, Radio 702. Jimmy here from Foster Station 7. Been listening to the radio show this morning. A good show as always. My favorite radio station in South Africa. Well, to say in short, South Africans reason positively or negatively when it suits them. South Africans are driven by excitement. They forget that there is a constitution that is guiding this country. There are laws that are aligned to the constitution to guide whatever activities that we do in this country, including what we saw on viral on social media. So I would like to say, South Africans, let us not be driven by excitement, because we will reason suitably, not with facts. Thank you.
Thank you for that voice note. Of course, responding to that question that I posed, just about how when people are excited, I think sometimes we act in ways that are very, very questionable. And this is on the back of that deputy mayor from the Western Cape in Bitou, who was discharging a firearm that she claims is not a real firearm. She says that it was a fake gun or a toy gun, and she insists that it was her practicing her culture, which I'm just at how. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know how she thinks that's practicing her culture. But let's take a call. This Valley in Protea. Maybe you can tell us, Valley, how the deputy mayor believes that's practicing her culture by acting in this way.
Hi, Kgomotso, are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for your call.
I'm good. Thanks very much. Kgomotso, I came on a different topic altogether.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, great. I think my topic is based on what we're experiencing as a country. In recent times. Look at everything that is happening politically, socially, and everything else. For me, the gist of the matter is our constitution. I think this constitution has been driven to us, has been shoved in our throat on the fear of a civil war. This constitution doesn't give, it's praised by everybody else in the world. Everybody's praising it except South Africans. All the foreigners, they will tell you South Africa the best constitution. But when it comes to working, it doesn't work for us as citizens. I'll give you one example.
Yeah.
For example, if I'm at home, 2:00 at night, somebody's in my house, with a gun or a knife, I'm expected to reason with that person. As soon as I react, I kill him, definitely, I guarantee you, I'm going to be locked. And somebody expect me to expect somebody 2 o'clock in my house visiting me. I don't even know that person in the first place. And is it 2 o'clock in my house? And I'm told that, no, you must do a warning shot. No, you must do this. Or that person is in my house 2 o'clock in the early hours of the morning.
You know,
I mean, what am I expected to do?
Yeah, Valley, I've seen a case where a person won on self-defense, even though, you know, they fired a shot. I do think that when it comes to the Constitution, this is why there are regularly amendments, right? So that it speaks to the now and it speaks to the needs of the people at the time. And I'm not sure that whenever there are amendments, people are as tuned in and alive to constitutional amendments or proposed constitutional amendments when the matters are spoken about in Parliament, because I do think that there is recognition that the Constitution will not forever stand as it is and deal with our issues as they are forever. You know, there will be a need to amend, there will be a need to revise and go back and have a look. I'm not sure that the Constitution itself encourages lawlessness.
I mean, I can let me just for the sake of time, let me give you one example.
Yeah.
Where in any country in the world where you see prisoners have all the rights, where as citizens, prisoners have got free education, they've got free food, they've got free housing in prison. Me as a citizen of this country who's obedient, I can sleep on a bridge, no one worries. I can go hungry the whole day, no one worries. The government doesn't even care about those people. But people in the prison have to eat, they have to get the best medication. Where in the world have you seen that?
You know,
those are the examples. I'm telling you that our Constitution is really failing us.
You know, some people might differ with you there, Valley. I've seen some documentaries where some prisons in Europe look like an Airbnb sometimes. They look like a B&B. They're so clean. I hear what you mean. I hear your frustration that there's a poverty problem and people that are law-abiding citizens, you know, don't have free education, so to speak, but we have prisoners who are studying inside prison. I do think that it's an important conversation to have, and I appreciate your contribution.
No, thanks very much. Yeah, basically my point is that for me, I believe that we need to go back to our Constitution. Let's look at those clauses that really speaks to the socio-economic of our country, and let's revisit them, and then let's deal with them. Because for me, I believe that from there we can able to come up with a society that is more engaged, that knows that the Constitution protects them and gives them a guidance moving forward. For me, I think it needs to start from there, because wherever that you do currently, I've got two neighbors that were jailed for 2 years just protecting themselves. Somebody was in their house, they shot them, they jailed, and imagine the case was dropped after 3 years. This person lost the house, he lost the family, he lost everything, and they says no, it's acquittal after 3 years of suffering.
You know,
so that's what I'm saying.
Before I let you go, Valley, I do think that we need to separate issues. So there are issues of a failing justice system, which I think are different from the issues around the Constitution and whether it serves the people. I think that there are major issues when it comes to the justice system. And we've even heard the outgoing National Director of Public Prosecutions, Shamla Batoyi, saying the justice system does not work. She's spoken about it, and I'm paraphrasing what she said. And what you are citing are issues with the justice system that are constantly spoken about, that are that even those who are in power recognize that it's it's problematic. But I do think that that's maybe a little different to the Constitution. I'm interested in your view, though, Valley, when it comes to for example, the constitutional amendments, the proposed amendments when it comes to land. What do you make of those, of movements that are made there?
Again, if I may give you somehow not direct answer, my point is, when the Constitution says we can compensate we can appropriate without compensation.
Yes.
Obviously, the Constitution needs to give us guidance in terms of saying what are those national interest.
Yeah.
If there's no national interest, for me, I don't see a reason why we need to do that. But if there are national interest, for example, if there needs to be a highway where we need to appropriate that land for a highway that needs to be built to benefit the country. For me, I think that is more appropriate. But for the sake of taking a land just to give to somebody who's going to sell it back again to the other person just for the profit, there's no benefit. There's no structure into that, and there's no system or thought behind that whole idea. It's just doing it for the sake of doing it. For me, that's where I've got a problem with. If you look at all the land that were taken by the government to the people, where are those lands? Those lands are abandoned currently. Those lands are not used. There was no structure. There was no program behind that, and there was no there was no program or what do you call this, a structure to say, when you're doing this, these are the benefits, this is what we need to do. It was not done like that. Hence now, that's why other people are negative behind that, because they're saying, we're taking a land from farmers that are feeding our people. We give it to people that are going to sell that land or do whatever or leave it abandoned, and then we're not benefiting anything. And at the end of the day, what's happening? That whole land is just left like that.
Belly, thank you so much for your call. He's in Protea there speaking to us about lawlessness and the Constitution, and he raises some points. Look, I do think, that while there are issues, and I think it's imperfect. I think the law as it stands is imperfect, and this is why we go through amendments. This is why they are always proposed amendments, so that it can fit the time that we are going through and address the issues of our people. The land issue, as we've been speaking about here, is a big one, right? It's an example of that, of the fact that the issues around land became such an important issue to deal with. They had to be addressed, and we've been seeing these, the move towards amendments. So, thank you so much for your calls. I'm taking more of your calls right here on the open line on 702. It's 011-883-0702, 021-446-0567. I think let's take some more voice notes.
Good morning, 702 and 702 listeners. I agree totally with Valley. Our justice system is squashed up, so to say. And our constitution needs to be changed because the criminals have more rights than our victims. We cannot defend ourselves if someone breaks into our house. And like he said, we'll get locked up instead of the criminal that breaks into your house. We can't even defend our own property. How does that work?
Kgomotso Modise, I also agree with this caller now with regards to prison, people who have committed crimes getting everything free. For example, I've always been an advocate that people who are in prison must work for what they get in prison. They're given free food, free electricity, free television, free accommodation. Everything is free. Why are farms not built around prison so these people can work for this food that they eat? Why are factories not built around prison, brick factories, and other factories, so that these people can work for what they're getting for free? They just sit around, laying around the whole day, and they get everything for free. They're going to come out in 10 years' time, one of them having a degree, and a person who is outside here, trying everything to survive. They can't even afford a registration fee to go to university.
Yeah, it's a frustration that many people have. I'm actually thinking of a time where I was driving around the Kgomotso prison a few months ago. It was a few years ago. Yeah, I think it might be a year or two ago. I was driving outside the Kgomotso prison on the side of the farm, so not on the main road, not on the Kgomotso road, but behind the prison, so to speak. And I did see prisoners that side working. I later learned that it is a pre-release program. So just before you are released, they then allow you to do some manual labor. You're able to, it seemed as though they were chopping the trees on that side. And I think it's something that they do when the prisoners are about to leave. I also think around Modise, there's also something similar there. I stand to be corrected. But I have seen prisoners working. Yeah, and it's a system that works around the world, which is something I think we can definitely learn from.
Good day, Tumelang, Kgomotso and Tim. Listening from somewhere in Umhlanga. Yeah, this deputy mayor story is shocking.
I think we're going to take another one. Okay. I think that voice note was rather short. I don't know if it was cut there, but yes, you're right. It is shocking. I am very, very shocked. It's outrageous. And I think that she should be held accountable. She should definitely be held accountable. I think that there should be an investigation. And if the law as it stands also covers toy guns as she has it in her statement, then I do think that it should be held here. It should be, she should be held accountable here. I know that she's being investigated by the police, and I know that the bullets and the rounds that can be seen in that video are being inspected. They are being probed by police, and I think after an inspection we'll know. So if she's not telling the truth, I hope for her sake she's telling the truth, because this is such an easily verifiable thing, right? It's very easy to verify whether this was a toy gun or not. If we've got police that are doing their job, it shouldn't be difficult at all.
Good morning, KG and listeners. People are so praising, they know that there are no consequences for any wrongdoing. The guns were brought by Dutch and British people when they came to this country in 1652 and 1694, whatever the case. So how is it our tradition that we must shoot guns when we are celebrating? How is that a culture or African tradition? Because these things are foreign to us. We are in trouble in this country. This is JT in the van.
Absolutely. I'm so shocked. I don't know where the link is, and I've been asking you to please help me. Maybe I'm not seeing the link, because I've never heard of culture using guns ever. I've never heard of African culture with the use of guns. Maybe spears. I think spears. Maybe that's what we can link to African culture. Absolutely not guns. And the fact that she says that in her statement, for me, is so worrying. I mean, who proofread the statement also? And who thought it was okay for the statement to go out? It's got the political party's logo on there. So I think it may have been proofread by someone, and they all agreed and said, yeah, we're going to say this is about culture. This is how we're going to do this. And for me, it makes absolutely no sense. I'm struggling to see the link, and I'm actually very disappointed that there is no accountability from her. Someone here saying, morning, Kgomotso. I don't think this country comprehends the revelations Advocate Ngayitobi's cross-examination was able to drag out of Advocate Shamila Batohi. People think that Batohi didn't want to return to the proceedings because she was arrogant. No, Advocate Ngayitobi was peeling back a process that would open up not just a can, but an dump site of worms piled up in the judiciary. And she says, I'm specifically referring to the Cattle Manor scandal involving General Johan Boysen and the brutal murder of an innocent 16-year-old Gwazi Ndlovu by his unit. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jobe, for that. Listen, I watched that cross-examination, hey? I watched Advocate Thembeka Ngayitobi cross-examine Advocate Shamila Batohi. This is, of course, during that inquiry into Andrew Chauke, the Director of Public Prosecutions in Johannesburg. And I can tell you now that so much about that cross-examination was so telling. I mean, even Advocate Batohi's response to those questions, at points where I thought she should at least say, I knew, she would plead ignorance. She would plead absolute ignorance. And I wonder why. I wonder if it's because she may have known what was going on with the Cattle Manor unit, and she doesn't want to incriminate herself. It was just so difficult for me to comprehend. And at the point where Advocate Batohi left, she felt that the inquiry was cross-examining, was probing her. And I've been saying that inquiry, and if you haven't been watching the inquiry or following the inquiry into Andrew Chauke, I need you to follow it, because that inquiry now feels like an inquiry into Advocate Shamila Batohi's competence. It feels as though we are probing and questioning whether she is competent. And I think to an extent it's of her own making. Because you cannot go to an inquiry and say, listen, I didn't read the terms of reference, and say, no, actually, I hadn't read the docket when I withdrew the charges. What do you mean? Yeah, that's one of those stories. I'm so sad that you raised it so late in the show because I definitely think it's something worth talking more about. But yeah, that is the 702 open line. Thank you so much for your calls and your WhatsApps.